nonprofit organizations in the Knox area better assist the homeless in their recovery and community connectivity while protecting those that are adversely affected by panhandling.
Throughout the course of this discussion, our committee, with members including Samantha Skelton, Becca Norton, Caitlin Smith, Gentry McReynolds, Jansen Sink, Maddie Webber, and Zachery, will set out to prove how nonprofit organizations in the Knoxville area can better assist the homeless individuals in the area with their recovery and community connectivity while still assisting those that have been adversely affected by those who are panhandling. Not only that, but our committee will prove how we can do so while still bringing into effect the ethical codes that we have set up. The two being how we can better love God and love others and obey God's commands. Throughout this presentation, we will prove exactly how we can do just that.
One of the biggest conversations we had about our case study was panhandling among the homeless population in front of businesses or among businesses, how it affects homeless individuals along with individuals who own private businesses or public businesses. And so we ended up researching about the Knoxville panhandling laws and forbidden instances of panhandling in Knoxville and panhandling restrictions in Knoxville, along with aggressive panhandling laws. One of the biggest discussions in the case study was the need for specific rules of aggressive panhandling, because if an individual were to be dismissed from panhandling because they were sought or thought of as aggressive, there weren't specific laws to determine whether or not the individual was being aggressive, and so that could presumably be used to a police officer's advantage or a business owner's advantage, as well as it could hurt the business allowing someone to panhandle, or if an individual is actually being aggressive, then it could scare customers away and just make business harder for individuals who own a private or public business. So forbidden instances of panhandling in Knoxville are that individuals are not allowed to panhandle after sunset and before sunrise, and they're not allowed to repeatedly ask a person over and over again for donations. The use of abusive language or profanity is forbidden. An aggressive manner in a public area of Knoxville is forbidden. In parking lots or garages owned by the city of Knoxville on private property, if the owner has sign posted or has asked the person to stop directly. Individuals panhandling are not allowed to ask motorists in traffic or persons waiting in line to be admitted to a commercial establishment, and they're not allowed to falsely represent why they're seeking money. So in the instance of Knoxville, there are specific forbidden examples of no panhandling, or if you are panhandling, you're not allowed to do specific things. Along with location restrictions in Knoxville where panhandling is allowed. Panhandling is not allowed within 20 feet of a crosswalk, an entrance or exit of a bank, or a check cashing business, an ATM, public restrooms, payphones, sidewalk cafe or outdoor dining areas, which there are a lot in Knoxville, a bus stop or bus station, the entrance to a residence, or the entrance to a business. So Knoxville is specific about the location of panhandling, the means by which one asks for donations. And then Knoxville even adds in an aggressive panhandling law specific to how an individual goes about panhandling. And this is for the whole state of Tennessee. This is not in direct relation to the city of Knoxville. The Universal Citation is a Tennessee code, and it was created in 2015. So a person commits aggressive panhandling who solicits a donation of money or goods in the following manner: by intentionally touching the person being solicited, by intentionally obstructing the path of an individual or vehicle of an individual being solicited, by following a person who is walking away from the person soliciting the donation, unless that person has said that they are going to donate, by making any statement, gesture, or other communication that would cause a reasonable person to feel fear of personal harm. Both of these can end in a misdemeanor, but they are in different classes. So a Class C misdemeanor and a Class B misdemeanor, and they are punishable by fine or a term of imprisonment, but it can't exceed 90 days. So Knoxville and Tennessee as a whole are very specific about panhandling laws, how panhandling can be taken seriously, how aggressive you have to be indirectly to be considered an aggressive panhandler. So it's not completely banned, but there are specific laws which help the city and others to feel safe. It allows homeless individuals who are panhandling to feel more safe. They have specific regulations and guidelines to follow along with individuals who are not homeless, who they have a specific set of guidelines when helping an individual or not.
Hi, I'm Maddie, and today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the background behind businesses and their experiences with homelessness. First, I'm going to use Starbucks as an example, and I'm using this because a lot of people go to Starbucks on a daily basis. Majority of people don't really understand this is an issue for Starbucks too, even though they have certain policies in place. So a while back, Starbucks had a policy that banned homeless people from sitting in their shop, but would give them a coffee if they were willing to leave, if the workers noticed that they were sitting there, kind of only using the shop and place of business as a place to sleep or just sit throughout the day. They would give them a cup of coffee and if they were willing to leave. And this became an issue because it wasn't really fixing the problem of homelessness. It was just kind of giving them a coffee and getting them throughout the day. But they decided to change their policy after that, and because of a lot of backlash, they now decided, this is their current policy, that they would allow the homeless people to sit within their place of business until it closed. But still, this is an issue because it leaves things up to the workers and other law enforcement on what is a disturbance within the store. So it's kind of a wishy-washy situation there. And many businesses don't like having homeless people within or in front of their establishments, and this is kind of where Starbucks was coming from in a way, but many individuals don't want to interact with the homeless, and this can push away people from coming into the store or doing their business there at all. So the establishment themselves don't really like homeless people around. And I just found this article that's from LinkedIn, and it says that many customers ask these questions when they approach a business with forms of panhandling or any kind of homeless people within the establishment or outside of the establishment. They tend to ask themselves, am I safe here? What is going on around me that leads this individual to panhandle? And is this a safe place where I want to spend my money shopping dollars? Not only does this affect the business and the management within the store itself, it also affects the customers and the people who are willing to come into the stores and do their business. If businesses are upset about panhandlers outside of their store, what is one way they can help nonprofits to better serve their homeless population?
One of the best solutions to panhandling that local businesses can do is partner with nonprofit organizations to provide resources to help individuals that are homeless. CARM, also known as Knoxville Area Rescue Ministries in Tennessee, is probably one of the best examples of the solution mindset. They are a local business, but they provide clothes for homeless people for job interviews. They provide jobs for the homeless population. That is one of the best ways to not have to worry about homeless people panhandling outside your business, and if so, just them knowing that you can go in and get clothes for a job interview, or could potentially even get a job interview at CARM. And so I think this idea of local businesses don't want homeless people outside their store or even sitting inside their store, creating a way to get them out of it or get them out of homelessness is pairing with a nonprofit and providing those resources. Habitat for Humanity is a nonprofit company that does a fantastic job at building houses for individuals that may not have a home. But the problem with that is maybe they aren't able to pay the bills, even though Habitat for Humanity houses are a little bit on the lower side. There's still bills to pay. And so I think a local business partnering with them to help an individual with being able to pay their bills. So for example, maybe CARM partnering with them, being hey, you building this houses, we can help them get a clothes for a job interview or whatever it may be. A local Starbucks partnering with them to provide a opportunity for a job. This is a great solution because, again, it gives the businesses a way to not have to worry about the individual out on their property, and also helps with the nonprofit having the resources instead of like your local Starbucks just like sending money to a nonprofit and then maybe not necessarily needing just money but resources. Like, hey, the best way to help us is partnering with us, that when people come to us, we're able to say, hey, you can go to Starbucks, they need more workers, or whatever it may be, Walmart partnering and being able to give resources to Habitat for Humanity or what other nonprofits there may be in the resources they need. And I think working together creates the best solution. So there's not division amongst like local businesses being frustrated that there's people sitting outside their store and don't want to come in, or customers don't want to come in. And I think for nonprofit, having the resources and the directions and guidance when people come in to be able to say like, hey, we're actually working alongside this local business, can help you get a job, can help you get clothes, or whatever resource may need. Yeah, I think this is the best solution, one of the best solutions to be able to provide all the needs that may come with a homeless individual.
How prevalent is homelessness in Knoxville, and what does that look like? And what needs are nonprofits meeting?
To answer the question of how prevalent homelessness is in Knoxville and what exactly that looks like, it's important to reflect on the information and then the statistics and demographics of what we're discussing before heading into discussions I've had with people who work in the community, especially with nonprofits. Looking at the Knox Community Dashboard on homelessness from the Q4 from 2022, this is the most recent and updated information that has been established. And we're going to look at the general demographics. 35% cannot find affordable housing, 11% lack or loss of employment, 19% is eviction. So as you can see, a lot of it has to do with the current housing crisis. 11% fleeing domestic violence, 3% jail, legal issues, 5% mental health and or substance abuse, and then 11% is nonviolent family confrontation, and 5% is youth runaway or issues with parental relationships. And about 87% are returning, and only about 13% are new. What that returning looks like, though, can be different. They could be returning to these sites like every single day, or different seasons of their life where they are homeless and when they're not homeless, or they're able to access other resources. About 6 to 8% is white, 30% Black, and 2% other. And of that, 4% is Hispanic and 96% is non-Hispanic. When it comes to these demographics, how many stay homeless, housed, who are still at risk, and then there's the unknown. Unknown is about 12%, at risk is 9%. Same with housed, and then homeless is about 7%. Still homeless is 70%. When it comes to male, it's about 55% of the population, female 44%, and then other is only about 1%. And then this is the varying age groups. As you can see, about 35 to 54 takes up most, and the least amount is ages 18 to 24 take the least. When it comes to alcohol or drugs as an issue, that's about 17. Other reasoning is 17%. Developmental is 7%. Mental health disorders about 7%. Physical or medical 35%, and then unspecified is about 4%. When it comes to exactly what the nonprofits are meeting and what they're not meeting, they're doing there's multiple organizations meeting these various needs. Alliance for Better Nonprofits, which Trace will discuss a little bit more. They kind of a network and resource for the other nonprofits to do training in other areas. Volunteer Ministry Center, they do housing, They do job training, KCDC, also housing, Salvation Army. And there's a lot of smaller groups like Houseless who do ministry while giving food. And there's a lot that reflects a lot of the smaller communities that may not be under necessarily the head of a giant nonprofit, but are still engaging with and serving the homeless community. In an interview discussing what kind of services individuals do, so some might have a salon to do like haircuts or beard trimming, just to help with that area of care that bigger nonprofits might not consider at first. In an interview Michael Bennett, we also discussed how all these ministries, while they are serving and engaging with the homeless population, they're mostly just in downtown, and the homeless population is all across Knoxville. And so if they're in a different area, they don't have access to these resources anymore, and that can be an issue. And that will just kind of gives an understanding of what issues there are, how they're being addressed, concerns to take into consideration.
When it comes to addressing homelessness and effectively helping people, what are the best practices in addressing the main issues of homelessness? When it comes to effective strategies and approaches to addressing the needs of homeless communities, one approach that has proven itself to be effective is called Housing First. According to the National Alliance to End Homelessness, Housing First prioritizes providing permanent housing to people experiencing homelessness, thus ending their homelessness and serving as a platform from which they can pursue personal goals and improve their quality of life. How does the Housing First approach to homelessness work? The idea behind a Housing First approach is that by giving a person a stable environment to live in, they will better be able to address other issues they may be facing, such as difficulties securing a job, addressing medical issues, or seeking support for mental health issues or substance addictions. What makes Housing First approaches different from many others is that the priority is getting people in housing, and it is done so without requiring people to meet certain conditions or go through interventions or programs prior to receiving housing. Instead, people are placed in a home first and then offered supportive services but not required to use them. Why do things this way? The National Alliance to End Homelessness explains that participation is not required, as services have been found to be more effective when a person chooses to engage. There are two main models used in Housing First approaches: permanent supportive housing model and the rapid rehousing model. Both have shown positive impacts in multiple studies in different locations. Permanent supportive housing is targeted to individuals and families with chronic illnesses, disabilities, mental health issues, or substance abuse disorders who have experienced long-term or repeated homelessness. It provides long-term rental assistance and supportive services. Rapid rehousing is employed for a wide variety of individuals and families. It provides short-term rental assistance and services. The goals are to help people obtain housing quickly, increase self-sufficiency, and remain housed. The core components of rapid rehousing: housing identification, rent and move-in assistance, and case management and services, operationalize Housing First principles. Is there evidence available demonstrating the effectiveness of the Housing First approach in other locations that help make significant progress in addressing homelessness? The National Alliance to End Homelessness explains that consumers in a Housing First model access housing faster and are more likely to remain stably housed, and this is true for both permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing programs. Permanent supportive housing has a 1-year housing retention rate of up to 98%. Studies have shown that rapid rehousing helps people exit homelessness quickly, in one study an average of 2 months, and remain housed. A variety of studies have shown that between 75% and 91% of households remained housed a year after being rapidly rehoused. More extensive studies have been completed on permanent supportive housing, finding that clients report an increase in perceived levels of autonomy, choice, and control in Housing First programs. A majority of clients are found to participate in the optional supportive services provided, often resulting in greater housing stability. Additionally, the COUGH Society, which stands for Cold and Uncared For, shared an article discussing successful examples of Housing First policies that made a big difference in the quality of life for many homeless communities. Their article cites Vienna, Austria, Helsinki, Finland, Salt Lake City, Utah, and Columbus, Ohio, who have all taken Housing First approaches to homelessness and have seen great decreases in homeless populations as more and more people have been given access to stable home environments. Another instance of successful implementation of Housing First principles, the Howard Center for Investigative Journalism shares evidence of success in the city of Houston, Texas, where, as they say, they revamped its entire system to get more people into housing quickly, and it cut homelessness by more than half. They explained that in 2011, the Houston area had one of the highest homeless populations in the country, with more than 8,400 people without stable housing. But by January 2020, that number had decreased by about 55% to around 3,800. One of the key aspects of success in Houston is attributed to their collaboration and unifying of the different programs, nonprofits, and services to more effectively work together to address issues. They explained that a homeless governing structure made up of representatives from local government, nonprofits, and other constituencies was created to try and ensure funding was invested according to Housing First principles. With the evidence in support of Housing First strategies, we advocate for Knoxville and its participating nonprofit organizations to take a Housing First approach, allocating resources to get people into stable home environments first, and then connecting them to the appropriate supportive services to help them continue to improve their quality of life. What do you think is needed or missing from the homelessness nonprofits in Knoxville?
What seems to be missing from the homelessness nonprofits throughout Knoxville? Unity. There are nonprofits that provide housing. There are nonprofits that provide food. There are nonprofits that provide help with making resumes or with developing interviewing skills and getting interviews. But there are many gaps between the help that is received, and there's a need to make connections between these different nonprofits so that the homeless community can get all of the areas of support that they need. Now, by partnering with someone such as the Alliance for Better Nonprofits, the success of a unifying body could be possible. The Alliance for Better Nonprofits does training, networking, and resourcing of nonprofits in the East Tennessee area. This allows for them to not only function, but thrive. The question becomes, how would one go about achieving unity? Our solution in part involves creating a nonprofit organization that its sole purpose is to provide a bridge between nonprofits that serve the homeless community in different capacities. There are nonprofits, yes. The issue becomes, how does a homeless person get connected to every nonprofit that they need to receive the help that they need? We believe the answer is creating a unifying body as a nonprofit that focuses on intaking homeless people and getting easy access to the other nonprofits in a way such that they can get help with housing, food, resumes, interviews, job seeking. By putting these areas together, by connecting them, you would allow for a more long-term solution to the homelessness problem that exists throughout Knoxville and Knox County. Through utilizing such things as the Alliance for Better Nonprofits, organizations such as this proposed unifying body can learn to become sustainable, self-sufficient, effective in the Knox County area, all while serving the maximum number of people possible. With some nonprofits, the issue is that they can only serve a certain amount of people. There are limits to the manpower and the capabilities of handling large numbers of homeless in the Knoxville area. Part of this seems to come from people maybe not always knowing where to seek help and also with them running into red tape along the way. By creating this body, we hope to cut down on the amount of red tape that there is and also allow for there to be unity among nonprofits that's able to handle a larger, more sustained number of homeless individuals in Knox County. Through this, along with work with local government regulations and the Knoxville area LLCs, it would be possible to unify different fronts to help with more issues that are experienced by the homeless community and with the city of Knoxville. There is a unity problem in the fight against homelessness in Knoxville. There are disconnects between certain services and others. Other cities have seen great dividends paid by having connections between nonprofits and LLCs. By partnering nonprofits with LLCs, you can create a more sustainable model for funding the work of a nonprofit such as the one recommended previously. This idea would still require unity. A body that is meant as a disbursement center for homeless support and connection would also need to work with the area LLCs to create unity between the partnering LLCs and nonprofits. The connections provided by a nonprofit entity could fill the gaps between the services of the nonprofits, and there would need to be in connection with the LLCs to get the support provided to the nonprofits. This would allow for better resourcing and help among the homeless community. With local businesses and nonprofits working together, the process for helping the homeless community would become localized, and it would become self-sufficient in such a way that the fight against homelessness would have local faces and local names. And that personalization would be provided by a local body that's mission is unity. The fight against homelessness would be a fight with and for our community.
What can we as nonprofits do to overcome financial limits?
One of the biggest issues that we face as nonprofit organizations when it comes to solving the homelessness issue is surely the lack of funds that are available. We don't have unlimited resources, and I think it would go without saying that if we had unlimited resources, we could solve any problem in the world, not just homelessness. But unfortunately, that's not reality. Most of the nonprofits in the area have great programs to help produce revenue, but it's very limited in their ability to grow because so much of their organization is the actual charitable donation. So our proposal to solve this issue would be to create two brand new organizations, one being an LLC or limited liability corporation, and one being a 501c3, which is a charitable organization or a nonprofit. The LLC we are proposing would be a manufacturing organization. Specifically, we are looking into forming a lumber mill. The reason being is that we would produce products that not only would be able to be sold for profit, but any extra product or products with cosmetic imperfections that are still safe to use that aren't able to be sold can then be donated to some of the nonprofits in the area, specifically the ones that are focused on housing first initiatives. The 501c3, on the other hand, would be a housing first initiative. They would help create new living places for those that are homeless, as well as provide programs to get over things like substance abuse, addictions. It would help people go through programs that would prepare them for interviews, get them clothes that would get them ready for interviews. It would be completely geared towards getting people first a home and then a job. Then the LLC could come right alongside them and provide that job. Unfortunately, there is a cycle that a lot of homeless individuals have found themselves in where they are not able to get a job because they are homeless. The reason being is there is a lot of red tape and a lot of difficulty for a business when it comes to hiring an individual that doesn't have a permanent address. So unfortunately, these people are needing jobs to then get a house, but they can't get a job because they don't have a house. So it's a vicious cycle that they can't get out of. Well, by partnering our LLC and our 501c3, we would hope to get people out of that program because the 501c3 would not only provide houses for those that need it, but they would partner with other organizations doing the same thing and then take those individuals and get them through these training programs that would help them then move into the LLC. And these two organizations would work hand in hand together. In fact, most of the members on the board of the LLC would be able to be members on the board of the 501c3. This would ensure a cooperative and hand-in-hand walk for these two organizations. There would be a symbiotic relationship and they would be focused on the same goals. Of course, the LLC would be completely for profit. So some of the issues that we are faced with is that we would first have to get a small business loan. So we could not form the 501c3 until all of the loans were paid off because the 501c3's revenue is coming from, or donations are coming from the revenue of the LLC, which would take a while to get up and running. We're projecting 2 to 3 years before the business is fully profitable, and then 5 to 7 years before we can get that 501c3 going. However, once we have both of those going, they would work hand in hand. And employee or individuals that went through the programs of the 501c3 could then get a job with the LLCs, pulling people out of that vicious cycle. That being said, we believe that this is the best way to approach the homelessness issue because there is a severe lack of funds. But by partnering a for-profit business with a 501c3, we are able to not only provide profits and steady donations that 501c3 can depend on, will also provide a fully functioning organization that gives back to the community, provides a service, helps donate things to other nonprofits in the area, and provide jobs for those that have recently found themselves in a new home. It is important to note that this LLC does not donate all of its profits to the 501c3. In fact, most of the profits are going to go back into the business to keep it going and so that it has a continual ability to grow. That ability to grow is what sets it apart from other nonprofits that have small revenue abilities through things such as CARM that depend on donations. This LLC has the potential to grow and grow and grow. And then as the company grows, more and more of the revenue can be donated to the 501c3. So while this is a long-term and time-intensive solution, we think it would be the best way to address the issue of lack of funds.